Hey everyone, my name is Marissa. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and if you've been here before, welcome back. So just a quick update and kind of a quick disclaimer. There has been a scallywag out there posing as me on Instagram, okay? And if you guys have been following all of my platforms, or any of them, I've kind of posted something about it on all of them, okay? So basically this person just like put a little underscore at the end of my normal handle, which is Mariposa, okay, with some dots in between. So yeah, all of that information can be found in my description box, okay? But essentially this person is just posing as me and trying to scam people. This is something that's not new in the tarot communities especially. But I just never thought it would happen so soon because like my followings are so little, but maybe that's one of the reasons why they felt like I was an easy target is because of that. Because if you're not like a super big account, I feel like Instagram, the likelihood of Instagram really doing something about it is not very big unless there's like thousands of people, you know, reporting the account. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I would never reach out to anyone asking for money because when we're in these realms, like we really know that it's all about integrity, and if something's meant to happen, we don't force it. And if the vibe is there for someone to like want to purchase your service, then it's there. And if it's not, it's not. And we don't force it. So yeah, that's happening. And we have Pluto and Mercury currently in retrograde, and I'm filming this on the day of the lunar eclipse. So there's a lot going on, a lot of energies, and just because I've been really feeling this energy, I really wanted to center these readings around this because it doesn't matter when you guys are drawn to this energy is going to be infused right into this reading and into these readings today. So this is all about your next rebirth, and two aspects in particular that we're diving into. The first aspect is what you are currently in the process of shedding, and the next aspect is what it is that you are stepping into and rebirthing into. So yeah, I'm very excited despite everything going on, the ups and the downs and the all arounds. Really happy to be on this journey with you guys. You have 4 piles to choose from today. Take your time. I always suggest a random number generator because that's what helps me out. But you know, do you boo-boo, okay? And when you're feeling ready, we're gonna hop right into these readings. Hey, group number 1. This is your reading for your next rebirth. Sorry, once I start channeling, man, it'll be better, but there's just a lot of energies that are going around, okay? So bear with me, all right? We're recording this during an interesting time on the planet and an interesting time in my own microcosmic universe, all right? So this was very apparent for me. I had all of these cards out first, and I was like, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page with you, Spirit, for certain about this Eros and the offering energy. Because on this side of the board, we have representing what it is that you're currently shedding, what you're in the process of shedding. And on this side of the board, we have what you're stepping into. And what is very interesting to me is that there is very similar energy between the Eros and the Loyal Heart, and then, you know, the Ace of Wands and the Ace of Cups, which are like my ultimate cards of like following your truth and like going for the things that you want. And then, you know, Direction, Guardian coming up. All right, we have Judgment coming up in your past and your present. And so if there's one card that really sums up why we have this repetitive kind of energy, it is this round and round, okay? So essentially what you guys are ascending into a new level of addressing a certain karmic knot. All right, so you're loosening it up, so to speak. This current cycle that you're in the process of shedding, I feel like you guys deny yourselves what it is that you actually want in life. All right, I feel like what is really coming through is there's a tendency to settle here, to settle for things that are not actually what it is you want, but maybe it is what you feel like deep down you deserve. And maybe it is like, I'm feeling like your guys's, I feel like you know what your truth is, okay? You know what your truth is, and you know deep down what you want, but like when it comes your way, it's like you guys deny it. You guys don't accept it. And maybe you guys are in more like of a conventional type of dynamic. I really do feel that this has to do with relationships, okay, because there's so much here about like passion and romance, all right, coming through across the board. But I feel like this is going to be leaking into all other areas of your life of where you guys tend to sell yourselves short. I feel that you guys have an idea of what it is that you actually want to birth into existence. And you guys are really in tune with what sets your soul and your heart on fire. And for whatever reason, it's like when things start to get too good, I feel like that's when you start to question, that's when you might start to self-sabotage too. It's almost like you have a ceiling of what it is that you feel like deep down you deserve. And, with justice, this really does tell me that this is a karmic thing, okay? That, like, karmic balancing that is happening. And so what is really coming through is that what it is that deep down you really want, and, like, this new version of you that you're getting ready to step into, and just, like, your soul's deepest callings might be a little bit unconventional with this Hierophant energy coming through. Okay, and so you might deny yourself like opportunities to get to know yourself better and to like explore your environment. Like with the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, this pentacle energy is all about fulfillment on the level of like your externality. Okay, so this has to do with your environment and just how you carry yourself in the world and what you allow yourself to experience in the world. And I feel like, if you guys are wanting to experience greater levels of like financial abundance, I feel like you're not seeing how maybe you do, and this is just confirmation. I hope, my readings are just to be confirmation, all right? But maybe this is like one of the areas that this tends to be most noticeable is in your romantic dynamics of kind of like you're very passionate, right? And you have so much to offer, and I feel like you know that. And then it's like when things start to get too good, or it's like, there's a ceiling for sure that I'm picking up from this group. There's a ceiling of when it starts to be too good to be true. That's when there's some degree of sabotage. And again, I feel like you don't really have to be living a super terrible life, right? Like, I just feel like the degree to which you could be experiencing greater bliss and joy and happiness could be a lot more than what it currently is. And I guess you could say that for everyone, right? Like we're constantly in a process of up leveling and shifting and sifting. However, it seems like, what was coming through too was something about biting your tongue and like holding yourself back from your truest expression. And I feel like that might happen in romance and, in those dynamics where it might feel like someone's actually on your level, because maybe you tend to, find, God, and this is going to sound terrible no matter how I say it, okay? So I just have to honor how it's coming through. But like, I feel like once something is offered to you that is really like your dream come true, or that is kind of reflective of a reality that you've always wanted, but maybe your subconscious mind doesn't actually believe you can have or that you deserve because of, past events and past versions of yourself. I feel like when it gets too close is when you might start to retract into yourself a little bit. And that's the energy that you're being invited to notice, because the first how we shift something, right? How we equalize something, or how we transmute something is another way of saying this. How we overcome something is the first step is we have to be able to identify it. That's why they, in Law of One teachings or whatever, I've heard other people say this outside of like, channeled materials, but acceptance is like the second step in terms of becoming someone that feels more free in your expression. With all this judgment energy, this is all about reclaiming parts of yourself and exuding a version of yourself that feels very authentic and like free, and like you're not contorting yourself or walking on eggshells or, just trying to fit yourself in a box that you were never meant for. The first part of that process of like owning and stepping into a brighter paradigm and like really solidifying yourself in a paradigm that is much more free and expanded is awareness of it. right? Awareness of a pattern. So it's know yourself, accept yourself, then become the creator, okay? And so I'm seeing that there are going to be invitations in your life currently, or this is something that you're already getting glimpses of, or something that you will start to notice is that in not only just romance, but in big and small ways where you're getting a glimpse, you're being offered, right? You're being offered something that is in alignment with your divine ideals, and you're either like rejecting it, or like you're either rejecting it, or you're doing something to, and this, I hate to say doing something to dim your light, because it's not something that you're consciously doing. I feel like it's just kind of happening because when you go through these experiences of being triggered, or when you go through these experiences of getting a glimpse of it and then like, oh, it's too good, like it's like that old narrative starts to kick in, right? This old narrative that's tied to an older version of yourself, right? So when I lean on certainty and faith and I change my mind about the world I see, when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world I see, and energy flows where my intention goes. So this is there's so much here about perspective, okay, and your perception. And so the biggest thing that I'm hearing in terms of undoing these things, like, first of all, you might just need to explore, like, you might just have some outdated ideas of what it is that you think you actually want, because it might be rooted in like tradition versus like what actually feels right. It might just be a little bit unconventional in some senses, and giving yourself permission to explore those things. And then there is a lot here too about when you do get into these dynamics, or when you do like find yourself in these situations, these romantic partnerships, and even these situations that reflect this, like, oh my God, this is so cool, this is so fun. Notice when you want to like recoil a little bit and just have awareness around it. Don't force yourself to do anything. Don't force yourself to be someone different. Like, have compassion for what's coming up in the moment, and like express yourself more authentically from the heart, because you deserve to express yourself. You deserve to be heard. But there's so much here about like expression and things wanting to be birthed, and like having a much more like transparent and authentic and deep connection with yourself and those around you, and just your environment in general. And that comes with just honesty, right? Like, what are we hiding from? There, you know, it's like we don't have to suffer in silence. And maybe part of it is because you've needed to put on a front over the years. You've needed to kind of protect yourself, you know, from things that might have happened in your past. Maybe you didn't have people to talk to, or you didn't really know what was going on or something, you know. And so this is about like, you know, making a beautiful transition here, what you're stepping into. Like, I see this Page of Swords, like I almost see this as like, you know, the sword energy represents, I also got this, Maya's dad got this for me for Mother's Day, this deck. It's so beautiful. But I see this as like, you know, sword energy is about expression, right? And like swallowing their truth, just with how the cards are lined up here, okay? And this energy tells me that, you know, you will have an opportunity. You're getting ready to step into opportunities where you're going to feel much more free in terms of how you're navigating these relationships and how you're navigating your reality and these opportunities that come into your experience. And what I love about waiting for important information and choosing your path is really about these two cards right here. So I feel like to a degree, you guys are already good at it. Like, you guys have already been on your path of like reclaiming yourself, right? Like, look at these two beautiful Judgment cards, right? It's all about reclaiming yourself and being someone that others like rely on, and like rely on for inspiration, and just someone that they know is like, I feel like there's something about you guys that can be like almost, I don't want to say hopelessly romantic, but I do feel like there's an aspect about you guys that romanticizes life because you know that it can be that way, right? But again, it just seems like maybe what you believe to be true and what you've actually experienced is what is out of alignment. And so that is what, you know, those karmic scales are tipping. Yeah, I feel like you've just been disappointed by life and how things might have panned out. And so there's so much here about what you're getting ready to step into. It's like you're taking all of this and it's going up a notch. So you are going to be acting even more on what your heart feels like it should do. you're going to be following your passion even more, what lights your soul up even more. And I feel like it's gonna feel so good. Like rebirth feels so good because in the process, it like when we're in it doesn't always feel good, right? So when we do find ourselves in the presence of someone that we're like, oh my God, this person is incredible, and this is like exactly the type of partner that I've been wanting and waiting for and manifesting, whatever. And it's like we get them, and it's like we kind of recoil a little bit, and we're like, God, like, I totally get it. It can feel so icky and sticky because when you're around certain people or other people that, I didn't finish this tangent earlier, but I'm glad it's coming back. But when you're around people that you, like, your subconscious says, okay, this is like, we're in the same realms, it's easy to be yourself. And so your brightest, most authentic self is going to come through. And that's like why people fall in love with you, Pile 1, is because you have such a bright and authentic and beautiful and passionate self. And then it's like, I feel like when you get these glimpses and these experiences of being around something that feels a little bit out of your league, just based off of past experiences, it's not even true. Like, it's not even true. But that's when you start to recoil a little bit. And so it's like your most authentic self is not coming through. And that's when it starts to feel distorted and sticky and icky. All right. But you're getting ready to like release a layer of this karmic knot and step into something much brighter and much more free. Okay, because this round and round really does talk about, like, okay, when we haven't integrated the lessons, we're going to come back around. And that's just what it means to be on this type of journey. It's like, I don't know where we got the idea that it's just happened so fast. Maybe some aspects of it can happen fast because, like, we've been preparing it throughout other lifetimes and we've reached a tipping point within this experience. But for the most part, it's like, you know, our blueprint is pretty set after the first 2 decades. And then it's really trying to work out all that karma, you know? And just like having compassion, holding space for it, not going on autopilot. Like, it's so important that when you meet these experiences, you don't go on autopilot, because it's that autopilot and that like starting to judge yourself for the shrinking and the recoiling and the sabotage, whatever, is what makes the karmic knot even tighter. So your guides are really coming through here and saying that it's important that you have a lot of awareness around it and you're watching your narrative again. So, you know, meeting these karmic propensities with a lot of awareness is what helps loosen those knots. Okay, so you're not like tightening yourself to these things, because it seems like this has probably been pretty cyclical for you. And again, one of your main areas that you see this happening is in your romantic dynamics. Maybe friendship to an extent, but I feel like it might be easier for you to sink into that. But there is just a lot here about like staying rooted in your power. And yeah, there's something to be said here about just making sure you're expressing yourself, okay? Because the more that you share your truth and the more that you like it's like the only reason I feel like we really start to create this narrative that we're not good enough for someone or something is because we kind of start to let their energy, or it's like we've kind of let those past dynamics or that past karmic energy take over. It's like we've kind of relinquished our driver's seat, right? And we're just letting whatever happens. And so I feel like there's a lot of necessity to, maybe one of your blockages has been, you know, I feel like when you guys express from the heart center. All right, sorry about that. My daughter needed to come out to use the restroom. She's just hanging out in her room with the animals. Okay, so yeah, what I was essentially saying is that when you guys reside in your heart space, whenever you're like doing things, I feel like you feel so good. You know, you know it's possible, but I feel like there just might be some frustration because it's like, I'm getting a little bit, because we have the loyal heart here, I am getting a little bit of the energy of like self-abandonment and maybe feeling disappointed in yourself for when it happens. And, you know, I feel like this is really about being loyal to your own heart and your own self first. You know, and I know we hear this so many times, but like, I feel like you guys could just speak up maybe a bit more because with this Libra energy that's coming through here too, like Libra is all about wanting to keep things harmonious, right? And so I feel like sometimes you want to keep things harmonious at a detriment to like what makes a good relationship and what builds chemistry, just for an example, because I'm never like coming at these things of like, okay, change how you're acting so you can get something, like, so a certain result can happen. But I just want to like maybe help reframe your perspective here, because there is a lot here about that's what might need to shift. So what actually builds greater rapport and how people actually come to respect us and like want to be around us is when there's a little bit of pushing and pulling that happens in the dynamic. And if you're too much of a people pleaser and you're just like, oh, give, agree, that doesn't create that like pushing effect that is necessary in order to keep that magnetism alive, right? Because, it's either, if there's too much of that, if there's too much pull, it's just going to move in one direction, shout out 1D. And maybe that's not the best metaphor. My metaphors and analogies have not been on point during Mercury retrograde, but maybe you can get what I'm saying of like, it's okay to say how you actually feel. And I feel like maybe at some points you guys are not expressing your full truth in the past because you just wanted to keep the harmony and the peace. But I feel like that's actually what's going to take you into this next level of not abandoning yourself and staying true to yourself. And maybe one of the blind spots for you is not seeing how that actually is going to create a lot more harmony in your dynamics, is by just like being more truthful about what's happening. Like there was a Sun Tzu quote that I read today, and pretty sure he was what is it, a general in 500, it was like 550 BC, he was a general. And there's a lot of quotes, right? And one of the quotes that I came across today was like, a silent friend, a friend that does not point out your flaws is not an actual friend, or they're an enemy or something. And while I feel like that can be a little bit extreme, and he, granted he was like a general for war, I feel like there's something to be said about that, of like, being on this type of journey, a soul journey, and a journey where you are speaking from the heart and existing from the heart. It becomes so essential that, we're doing our own work, but at the same time, it's like we're following our heart in regards of like things that we need to say, that feels right to say, and that feels right to embody, even if it seems like it might be like disturbing the peace a little bit. Because I feel like a big aspect of this karma for you guys is just reclaiming your power and knowing that you're worth it. It's like waiting for important information too. And this, these two energies to me is also about, okay, I'm sorry about that. My dogs are going crazy. So this is like, it's not like you're just like speaking out of your asshole with the wait for important information, okay? But at the same time, it's like when something feels right, it's like you gotta do it, regardless of how uncomfortable it is. And again, I feel like one of the areas that becomes much more prominent is in your relationships, your romance. But, the thing to know about that is romance is of the heart, okay? Relationships in general are of the heart. And so if we're blocking our heart in one way from its like authentic expression and unfolding, we can be sure that's leaking into all other areas of our life. So it's going to leak into your passion projects. It's going to bleed into you owning and stepping into and just feeling so free in your expression. This Judgment card in particular is like my ultimate card for like, yeah, that's what this dove represents. It's freedom, like liberation, and feeling like it is okay to be who you are, and all of its ebbs and flows, and not making it mean anything else, but just honoring everything as it comes and goes, right? And so I feel like maybe sometimes one of the reasons why you have suffered in silence is because when things have gone awry, or like, sometimes when you have beings that are so tuned in, like I feel you are group number one, it's like you guys are so tuned into absolute of like, okay, if I'm triggered, it's my work. Okay, but that's you honoring one aspect of what it means to be divinity incarnate. You're honoring the divinity side. Like that's very wise and very important, and honestly like so mature to recognize like, okay, I'm being triggered. I'm being triggered by someone or an environment or a circumstance. Okay, that's my work. But also honoring your human, your incarnate aspect of it. And that is, sometimes it can be really serving to get on the same page, because we don't always know. A lot of the times when we're triggered by something, it's like it's so veiled that we're not only triggered, but we didn't even see the situation how it actually was. We made something up because of our own triggers. And so there's a lot here about this is going to help you clear a lot of misperception and help you see in a really big way of how, specific areas, how these tension points or these like points of friction, these woundings in your psyche, in your field, how they're still like subliminally influencing where your energy is going and how it's flowing, okay? And so then again, influencing what you do and the opportunities you think you can actually get, you know, where you're going, how you're carrying yourself, the lovers you think you deserve, the lovers you think you can get. Okay, so it's like there's a beautiful balance of like, okay, I'm going to wait until I know how to proceed with this forward and if it's even worth it. But when I feel that click in my heart of like, okay, I need to do this no matter how uncomfortable it might be or no matter how it might make me look, you're going to fucking do it. All right, and that's going to unlock this next level, freer version of yourself. And there's a lot here about self-expression, not holding back your truth, not suffering in silence. All right, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's like you have so much to offer. And I feel like the biggest like disappointments you've met in terms of love and in terms of opportunities that felt like they slipped through your fingertips was because you weren't being as fully transparent as you could have been. And maybe it's because there was some pride there, you know, pride is of the heart. That's what blocks the heart, right? There might've been pride and like you didn't want to be the first person to apologize, or maybe it was even like, again, you were the type of being with this Empress energy. You let things come to you versus like, you don't meddle in affairs more than you think they deserve. And so I feel like if anything, like give yourself a bit more permission to be more human. And I feel like you're going to see a lot more, you're going to feel so much more safe in yourself. Like your subtle body and your nervous system is going to feel safe because you're no longer gaslighting your own self and your own experience. All right. And it's like, all is welcome, you know, all is welcome, all parts of it. And so it's only those times when we're like trying to suppress certain aspects of ourselves that our expression starts to become a little bit distorted and just like anxious or just like, you know, not as smooth as it could be. But the more that we're just like, okay, this is like, might be awkward at first, or this might not feel, it might just be awkward because I'm not normal to it or used to it. Sorry. Mercury retrograde. Never mind. Yeah, it just might feel just different at first. But I do see like your relationships becoming much more fulfilling. I feel like you are becoming much more fulfilled too, and you're not like second guessing the goodness that is coming to you as much. And I feel like honestly it's a lot less, all right, as the skin begins to shed and as you shine the light of your awareness around this. And it's really important that you just have grace for yourself throughout this process, okay? But you're feeling more free and you're feeling just like, man, I do see that you will come into greater alignment with more people and more opportunities to network and to just like have these types of dynamics that feel very loyal. And not loyal out of obligation, but loyal because there's a mutual reciprocity of growth and really seeing the light of God in the other and just wanting to become more free together. Okay. And yeah, again, your meeting, it's like it's like still this energy, but a lot more free. And, you know, that's what I love about growth and love about the spiritual journey is like, it doesn't matter that we're not our ultimate free. It doesn't matter that we're still on the spiral. It's like it feels better because you're a little bit higher, right? Your levels of awareness are a bit more expanded, and so it doesn't feel as sticky, and you don't linger in that, you know, embarrassment or shame or whatever as long because again, with that more expanded lens of awareness, there comes more understanding of like, okay, this is school, right? Curriculum is here, classes in session. And how do I utilize all of my relationships and all of these experiences to set me free? All right, so I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, and peace to your heart today, pile number 1. Thank you for sharing this journey with me. Thank you for being on this path with me. And yeah, I do hope to see you on my channel again soon. Please like this video if it resonated. And yeah, leave me a comment too. Much love. What is up, pile number 2? Here is your reading for your next rebirth. What it is that you're getting ready to shed, all right, or you're in the process of shedding, and then what it is that you're getting ready to step into, okay, just so you know how I've split the board up. So, where do I start? Okay, so this was interesting because this is something that happened in the previous pile too, where what we're stepping out of, there was a card that came up here that was the same card on this side, and you know, tarot in particular. So, what was it? Judgment. It was the pile before. We had judgment on this side and judgment on this side, okay? In this group, it's interesting because we have something very similar of the hermit showing up here and the hermit energy showing up here again. Okay, so what this tells me, because you do have also a similar card of like, this next rebirth is you seeing and feeling that you have achieved a new degree of mastery within yourself. And I feel like this is in regards to what it is that brings you joy in life and what it is that allows you to come alive and what it is that you're here to contribute to the planet at this time. And what's interesting is I feel like something that you're in the process of shedding, and I feel like you've been marinating on something for a while of like, you know, what's the best way to navigate a certain situation with justice here? What's the best way to navigate the situation? I want to make sure I'm doing this from a place of integrity, from a place of truth. And I feel like it's something that you've been like wondering for a while. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stand my ground? Do I like, you know, lift up my roots and start anew? And if I do, what would that look like? If I did decide to, you know, stay here, what would that look like? If I did decide to move on from something, what would that look like? Okay. I feel like this aspect, or this, maybe it's a living situation, maybe it's a partnership, maybe it's a friendship. It feels like something though that is kind of a big deal to you, and that you're wanting to, like, it's brought an equal degree of happiness, and also within it has been its own woundings and its own bitterness. And I feel like it's something that has been in your life long enough to, you know, withstand ebbs and flows of relationships. And I feel like it's something that has brought you deeper into yourself in terms of unearthing a deeper degree of joy, because you're getting to know yourself. And, you know, it's because it's taken you deeper into your trauma or into sadness or into, you know, just uncomfortable versions of self, like past versions, past happenings, right? But regardless, it's like I feel like you've been consistently making progress within yourself. Okay, because the queen energy and the judge energy, especially with all of this positive energy down here, I wasn't sure if it's like, okay, are we being like negatively judgmental of ourselves, or is it positive? And I feel like you guys are in a really good space in terms of, you know, I with this, all of this red energy, I definitely see like the sacral chakra. Okay, I think of the sacral chakra here, and with a red jewel and just like the flower, I think of like, you know, the seat or the chakra of creativity. And so I feel like maybe you've been clamping down and maybe resisting a new direction because of who you have to walk away from. And because maybe it's been something that's been in your life for a while. Okay. And that's where I kind of get this back and forth energy of like, do I stay? Do I go? What's the right thing to do? How do I, you know, leave this situation knowing that everyone is benefiting and not just looking out for myself, right? And I love right here with the hummingbird, the more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free that I am. And so I feel like maybe one of the things you're getting ready to shed, or at least I deeply feel what you're getting ready to shed, is when maybe you start to not allow yourself to move in those new directions because there's some degree of guilt about what you'll be leaving behind. Because I feel like whatever it is like equally as good, and it's been part of your, you know, karmic lessons and your karmic undoings, and just like a big part of what you came here to learn this time around. And so I feel like there might just be some like, am I really doing the right thing? Because the queen energy is all about being diplomatic. I did hear diplomatic when I saw the Father of Swords as well, but being diplomatic and making your decisions from a place where everyone is going to be benefited. But, you know, that's the thing about this type of journey is like, you know, if it's benefiting to you, it's going to be benefiting for everyone else, right? And we're not talking about like following more of these like primal impulses so much as we're talking about when you really deeply feel inspired to do something and to go somewhere, because it just feels like the next thing you have to do in order to enter and embody that next version of yourself that you know you have to be. You know, because the queen is all about making decisions when she's in her power. It's about making decisions that benefit everyone, right? And that's, you know, that's a natural byproduct of following your heart. And so I feel like this, maybe one of the reasons why I was so flip-floppy and so unable to figure out, was this good, was this bad? Because maybe you tend to waver of like, you know, depending on the mood, you're like, oh, this is so selfish for me to think, and to like, this is so selfish for me to entertain. And then depending on the mood, it's like, no, this feels so right, and this is where I'm supposed to go, and I see new horizons, new adventures, new connections ahead of me. And you're using your positive discernment in that sense, right? Because here, when I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love, versus when we're seeing through the lens of shadow or illusion, we're going to see ourselves and other people, and just like what we feel like our options are, we're going to see that also through a distorted lens. And so again, very similar to the first pile, but it's in its own way, because it's like they do feel kind of unrelated in a big way, but it was a lot about perception, okay? And I guess that's what you can say this spiritual journey is all about. It's about consistently expanding your perception, your lens of perception, and, you know, clearing house of the subconscious in order to experience more of the divine mind. Because generally it's all the shit that we've, you know, all the garbage that our subconscious tends to absorb, you know, just from being a sentient being on the planet. It's all of this garbage and like shoulds, coulds, woulds, and past conditionings that kind of get in the way of what is actually meant for us, you know. And I never think that we're in situations that aren't meant for us, or that like we from this limited self could ever stop something good from happening to us. Like if it's meant to happen, it's going to, kind of thing. Like if it's meant for you, it's not going to pass you by, okay, whether good, bad, or ugly, you know. But I do feel like there is a big aspect here of yeah, it's interesting. I'm recording this during Jupiter in Aries, right? Because there's so much about focusing on the self, but and it's important to do so in a positive way. And so, you know, the opposite of Aries is what? Libra. So, you know, Jupiter in Libra would be like supporting us to focus more on other people and what other people need, right? And so I feel like maybe there's a little bit, you know, these energies right now planetarily, or depending on when you're seeing this, it's going to be infused either way, because it's when I'm recording it, it's when Jupiter's is in Aries, right? And so, yeah, interesting, because what's coming through now is like assessing. It feels like you're tying off, or like this is a continuation of a lesson you had in 2011, because that was the last time we had this planetary placement. Okay, and so just like how you related to yourself then, and how much progress you've made up until now, and understanding that this is a very strong, prominent chord in your karmic closet, so to speak, or just what it feels so intense because you're clearing a lot, is what I'm trying to say. And so, you know, I feel like sometimes we tend to wait until things get really shitty before that gives us permission to like move on. But I think things are pretty good, but it's like, man, but it could be better. And it's not even coming from the lens of like grass is always greener, but it's coming from the lens of like, you know, the queen and the king energy is all about, all right, we're not going to become complacent. We're not settling. We're not going to get comfortable. Like always looking to that next thing that is going to expand us, always looking to that next thing that is going to add to the abundance of our kingdom and the wealth and health of our people. And so I feel like what you're getting ready to shed is this, you know, this kind of battle between yourself of it's good, it's fine, it's great here, and how can I make it better, or feeling guilty about, you know, the wanting to explore something. What's interesting here too is that we have 1, 2, 3 cards on this side that are like hermity kind of energy and about like observing. Okay, so I feel like with all of, you know, the hermit energy that's coming through this, what really stands out to me in this spread is bask in joy and light and be devoted and committed. So I feel like this is like, you know, I never want to paint the picture that the human experience is always going to be great and fun or whatever, you know, but I do deeply feel that most of us can agree that it is about going towards those things that allow us to feel more aligned to our true nature. And that's what's going to bring the most amount of joy. And so, you know, part of what you're shedding, I feel like, is this guilt of like thinking that you have any choice over what is your true nature from this level, and just like observing it yourself and going within and being like, okay, there's something here that I need to do. There's a part of me that feels like it's unfinished, or a part of my expression, or a part of what I feel like I'm here to give to the planet that feels unfinished. And I feel like whatever has been bringing me a certain degree of joy and, deepening me into myself, and whatever's been bringing me clarity up to this point in time about who I am and what I'm supposed to do, and just what feels right for me to do. I shouldn't even say supposed to, but just what I wouldn't be doing if I had, if everything else was taken care of. This is what I would be doing. I feel that's shifting for you. And there's been a little bit of, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? And, I'm really hearing the guides coming through and reiterating the fact that you're not controlling it from this level, okay? And so why is there this sense of needing to feel guilty? Because I feel like, with these two cards being in the section of what it is that you're getting ready to step into, I feel like this is like a rebirth in a new direction. And maybe even picking something up where you left off. Like maybe you started dabbling in something, but you walked away from it at some point. This could have to do with a relationship, but I really feel like this might be more of like a community thing, or just like, because the Hermit energy is so predominant, I feel like, what is the Hermit? The Hermit is all about going out, experiencing lessons, and then going within, digesting those lessons, and then sharing it with other people. So I do feel like this has to do with what you are contributing to the planet and what you're giving, to other people. And that might have to do, like, it might be a complete uprooting of environment, living situation, etc., to kind of go on this path of picking up where you left something off, or something that you didn't give as much of a chance as you wanted it to. All right. And there's again, with all of this observer energy, it's like really important to stay as much as you can in a place of equilibrium, because there's so much back and forth, and like, is this good? Is this bad? Is this right? Is this wrong? Like, teetering on that scale of, justice and judgment. And while I'm not putting that down, I feel like you guys are just beings of high integrity and just ultimately want to do the best thing for other people. It's like, I feel like you might be, it's like you can be the observer while engaging in the play, right? And so it's not always serving to, I keep hearing the grass is always greener, right? And so I feel like maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to be that kind of person that thinks the grass is always greener. But it's like, what if the grass is greener? What if it really is though? And, it's wise that you can remember that, and that you're aware of that, and that because there's so much energy coming through of you're already so in tune with yourself and wanting to do the right thing. And I feel like this is a group that would really understand like the Four Noble Truths. And, the more that I chase after pleasure and try to avoid pain, the more suffering I actually experience, right? And so I feel like that's why you're so conscientious about the decisions you make and how you make decisions, or you really try to be. But I feel like there's something that's just been so tempting and just so like, feels like it would allow a more authentic, like current of your soul stream to come through you, and to feel much more, just centered and just like who you are, and much more relaxed. The thing about these three cards is there's like such a relaxed nature to it, of like things are just happening for me and I'm not really forcing anything. And so I feel like that might require something shifting profoundly that has been around maybe for a while, that again you've been going back and forth on. And maybe this is just a confirmation you needed of like, okay, like at the very least give yourself permission to explore a new possibility, like being devoted and committed to what brings you joy and what allows your true nature to come through more and more. Because again, this is a process of constantly evolving, right? Constantly like releasing the stuff that is kind of, again, just taking up space in our subconscious mind, and that kind of blocks us from receiving more of the divine mind, because there's like, the soul stream, and like can't really get through all that garbage that we've accumulated, right? So I do see what you're getting ready to step more into is like you're making decisions from a greater level of peace. You're not questioning yourself as much, and you're not making it mean anything good or bad. Like that was such a beautiful lesson I had. Man, I don't even remember what this main catalyst was for this lesson, but you know, I think it had to do with relationships and how some people would get upset when I didn't want the relationship to be what they wanted. But I'm like, I'm not controlling it from this level. I don't know why I'm attracted to certain things in certain people and why I have aversions to certain things in certain people. But, that's where my lesson is. That's where my curriculum is. That is my indication of what is relevant for me to explore and what's not. And I'm not going to make it mean anything more or less than what it is, and doing my best to, that's where I start to find more freedom and more joy in the human experience, is because it's like I'm in the play, but I'm not getting lost in it, right? Being in the world, but not being of it, not getting swept up in the narrative so much. And so I feel like this might be something, again, that you had started at some point or had been interested or curious in at some point, never really, I don't want to say had the courage, but you just never, this might have gotten in the way too much. The judge and the, feeling like you were already so invested into something up to a certain point in time, and you had already put so much time and energy and resources into something. It's like, oh God, am I really going to just like root up and start anew? And so I feel like this rebirth is like, it's not just about this one area. It's untethering you even more from the matrix, which says like, because I've been doing something for so long, that means this is where I should stay. And if that's what's relevant for you, that's fine, but I am getting strong indication for this group that's not what it is. And it's about, betting on yourself and having more faith, right? There's like this kind of hanged man energy that's coming through, a lot of like suspending your ideas of right and wrong and having faith that you'll be carried through these decisions, and not needing to get in your head, to get super heady about, well, why am I guided in this direction? Well, if it just feels brighter and it just feels like more alive to you, then there's something there for you, and you can trust that. And again, remembering, okay, it's not me from this level that is kind of making these decisions, but I do understand as a co-creative component of my life, then it would be serving if I followed those things that lit me up more and that brought me more joy. Being committed to just unearthing more of your harmonious self. And it's like you're not really giving up anything. It's interesting because we have the hermit here and the hermit here, so it's like that sense of you're still sitting in the same space, or like all of the things externally can be changing, and that's not what matters most, right? What matters most is what we're extracting. And like spirit doesn't care about form. It cares about, are you extracting the lessons and the expansions and the upgrades and integrating the shadow aspects of why this came into your experience in the first place. And so holistically, I think that this might have to do with one area of your life, but holistically it's untethering you from ideas, right? And keeping yourself in a box and feeling guilty about, just being a human and exploring what that means for you, right? And just like noticing all of those narratives that come up, because there might be kind of a lot that are coming up for you. And so a big part of like a big, like, what am I trying to say? Like advice that's coming through for your guides is to not create more heartache and to not create any greater karma than you already have in this area, by attaching those narratives or reinforcing those narratives and just kind of letting themselves play themselves out. Okay. And it doesn't mean that like once you make a decision, it's like, all right, I can't ever go back. No, we're consistently in a state of evolving and dissolving things, right? And versions of ourselves and dynamics. Like I've had dynamics that I stepped away from it for a period of time, and I thought that was it. And then it's like by the next time they came back around or whatever, after I'd gone through my own lessons and blessings outside of that dynamic, I came back around and it was even better. And I enjoyed the experience even more, and there was even more celebration, and I was even more myself. I was bringing more to the table. But who knows how long that would have taken, and who knows if I would have even gotten there, if I was denying myself along the way, because this is really about releasing the concepts. And I feel like it's so beautiful that you guys obviously operate through such high levels of integrity, but give yourself a chance, give this a chance, because there's a lot of wisdom that you're going to gain through this experience. The sage and the hermit is extremely wise. You're already there, but like this is like tripling, okay? Tripling your experience and experiencing deeper degrees of joy, deeper degrees of joy, because you're just like going where you're guided, what deeply feels right, and you're just like in awe of the experience, right? It's like you're not clenching onto things that are overdue, that are expired, and you're not like chasing after things that you think that you want. It's just like, this is just what makes the most amount of sense right now. And for whatever reason, this is where I'm being guided. All right, so I'd be curious to hear what this is. If you guys, want to share, please do. Otherwise, yeah, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. Please give this video a like if it did resonate. And I hope to see you guys again on my channel soon. Much love. Hey, group number 3, welcome to your reading for your next, what is it? Your next rebirth. There's been some energies. There's been a lot that's been going on in my microcosmic universe, all right? So bear with me. But yeah, here are your cards all laid out with my new camera. Okay, we're looking extra crispy. So yeah, I am really excited to offer this to you. I've actually been marinating on this for a little bit. Just because there's really interesting energies coming through, you know? And basically what I'm seeing for you guys is that what you're getting ready to shed, I feel like you guys were in a dynamic, or you are currently in a dynamic, or you were in a dynamic that kind of opened up heaven and hell within you. All right, there's a lot here about, I feel like it was a very spiritual connection. I feel like this was a connection that, there was a lot of passion, there was a lot of physical desire, there was a lot of like lusty type of energy. And I also feel like, however, there's a degree of wisdom that at least one of the people in this dynamic carried. Okay, and I'm not sure why I'm just getting that maybe it was just one. Both people I feel like were probably in the same realms as each other in terms of spiritual knowledge and understanding, but I definitely am getting the sense that this is probably you that came into the dynamic with a bit more like awareness of the nature of reality and like the nature of what these spiritual unions are for. And the reason why I'm getting the sense of it bringing out heaven and hell is because we do have like the Hermit and the Devil card came up on either side of the spiritual union. And with the Poet energy, the Poet is about feeling all the feelings, which is interesting because that's like what you're being guided into. But it's about feeling all the feelings, the extremes of life, and using that, utilizing that, and infusing it into your art. Infusing it into the world and infusing it into what it is that you are here to provide or to just like put out, your natural expression, right? I feel like in this dynamic though, this might have been something where someone was like a little bit insecure about other people in their life or other people in their partner's life, or there was something that happened that had to do with someone else, like maybe not being honest about something and maybe feeling like the other person was concealing something, or like this most certainly could be involved with like third party situations, like something that I feel like is maybe the reason why this connection might have fallen apart at some point, or like at the very least got very rocky or unstable. I feel like gosh, I'm just getting this strong notion that one of the people at least is more into maybe like open dynamics or like open relationships or something, or like was wanting to explore that, or just kind of had that energy of being just more of a free lover and not just like focusing that energy on one person. And so I feel like it brought up insecurities in this other person, and it was, at the end of the day, it seems like it was serving its purpose of what these spiritual connections are here for, and it's just to hold a mirror up to one another, right? And I feel like maybe in a sense it's like at some point maybe you felt like you had to choose between what feels the most right for you, no matter how unconventional it might be. It's like you had to choose between like your head and your heart, and choose between like conventional and something that made the most amount of sense and something that actually spoke to your heart more, right? This most certainly has to do with a connection, like a lover, like a romance. Yeah, I feel like there's a part of you that might have felt like there were other, like, I don't know, I'm getting the sense of like wandering eyes or something, like the thing about poetic hearts and just the energy that I'm getting from this group is kind of, there's like a lot of mutable energy that I'm getting of like, you know, could be in love with one person one day and then the next day kind of completely forget about that person because someone else is there. And it doesn't seem like it's really in a shallow way. I feel like it's because you guys are very old souls, and so what comes naturally along with like being old souls, and I'm not saying if you're, you know, I'm not saying that if you are an old soul that you have to be into like polyamory or anything. I'm just saying that old souls kind of have more of an understanding of the fact that we've shared many different dynamics and many different roles for each other throughout like hundreds of thousands of incarnations. And so like there's going to be remnants of those past connections that come up, you know, and not seeing it as such a threatening thing that we're going to be attracted to other people outside of a dynamic, right? So I feel like one person within this dynamic was much more wise and grounded and balanced, and another individual, it seemed to like bring up maybe not the best side in them. Or there was some jealousy I'm getting of connections that you probably had outside of this dynamic. And this could most certainly be flip-flopped, okay? But for the majority of the people that are tuning into this, I am getting that there's much more of an awareness around your consciousness. Like you have much more of an expanded consciousness. I just say much more, but there's just much more understanding, I guess, about these things. And I feel like the way that you love pile number 3 is not so much like personally focused, right? You're not so much focused on just like the person as being the object of your affection, right? It's more of like you kind of fallen in love with life itself, right? There's a stream of love supporting my dreams. My fearless freedom lights up the world. I do feel that this is you guys embody a very like free kind of consciousness, and you know, it's like free love kind of thing. And so I feel like maybe you did meet someone that you're like, oh my gosh, this is someone that like I really enjoy spending a lot of time with, and there's like this mutual attraction, and there's this like deep passion and this deep lusting, right? And I feel like it might have caused you to question yourself and just question your own integrity maybe. And I feel like it held up a mirror for you in terms of like how you select partners, and like I think it allowed a lot of deep investigation about like why you make decisions and that why you select the partners you do, and maybe even like caused you to wonder like, okay, do I like these more free dynamics because it allows me to not go to a certain level of depth and to really face my shadow or to face my deepest self, and like these karmic knots, or like it's just really how I am hardwired, right? And so that's what I'm really feeling about with this poetic nature. It's like I feel like it's a battle between, you know, on one hand, really loving something as it is. Like, gosh, I'm trying to like, I'm having a hard time with retrogrades trying to articulate this, but it's like the sense of like loving something so much and loving a certain dynamic, but then knowing that your true nature and your true expression might not support that, or might not support what the other person thinks it as love or would think is like a reflection of love. So maybe one person in this dynamic was almost a bit like shameful or questioning themselves and questioning their true nature because they saw the hurt that it brought to someone else. But then there's also the recognition of like, okay, well, this is just our work together, right? We're both holding up mirrors for each other in terms of what is actually keeping us on this wheel of karma versus like embodying freer versions of ourselves. And so I feel like one being in this felt kind of, and maybe even both, like this could even be on both sides, where there's like a sneaky energy, or like people aren't being fully honest about something or about how they feel about other people or the container itself. And so, you know, that which is built upon sand, you know, is going to come crashing down at some point. And so, yeah, I feel like whatever happened or this could even be something that's happening right now, some energies that you're already feeling. There's something about like this foundation not being as stable and as oh my god, as it's not a supportive container as it once was. It's not as of a supportive container as it once was. Oh my god, I can't talk. And so I feel like there's a sense of like repressing one's heart and repressing one's exploration, right? And I don't feel like it's something out of spite, and I don't feel like it's something out of like running away from something. But I feel like more than anything, it's about one or more people just really needing to explore their freedom and explore what love really is, and the notion of it, you know, because this gnosis and this poetic nature, it's kind of like poets when they talk about love, and you know what gnosis is all about. It's all about understanding the nature of reality. And so with that energy, that energetic combination, I would get that that there would be an understanding of love being like very open palmed, and like if it's meant to be, then it will be, and here it is, and soak it up while it's here, because it's not going to stay this way forever. It's going to eventually change and shift. And so I feel like there is a sense of really appreciating a certain container as it's been, but then also knowing that, you know, maybe feeling a little bit constricted, or like it's not allowing the full expression of you to come through, because, or you know, this could be the other person, but it's not allowing the fullest expression to come through, and it's like hiding parts of ourselves or concealing parts of ourselves that are actually, you know, very authentic to our expression, because societal conditioning or expectations from the other person, not wanting to let someone else down, not wanting to like be the reason someone feels rejected. What's interesting too is that when we come over to this side of the board, this is where we talk about the card spread, whatever. This is where we're talking about what it is that you're stepping into. And so with Water Guardian and Sky Father, this is such a powerful dynamic. This is a powerful duo, because this is about connecting with your deepest emotions, right? And giving yourself permission. And that's what the poet energy is all about really just like feeling all extremes of life, and then trusting in that inner guidance, trusting that that's going to take you where it needs to. But there is a sense here about kind of like throwing yourself not throwing yourself into like an emotional wreck, or throwing yourself in as if you're becoming irrationally emotional, but it's like giving yourself permission to live from the heart even more, and to experience all extremes of life. Because I am getting the sense of like that tenderness that you feel after a heartbreak, where there's like new potential on the horizon, like you're still grieving what once was, and there's like an excitement for the version of yourself that you're inevitably going to be stepping into, and knowing that if not this, then something better, right? And so your next glow up feels really good, right? It feels incredible. This rebirth, what you're preparing for, right? It's like about doing those things that truly light you up, and like doing it just because, like serendipity and happy, like this combination is like you're doing it just for the hell of it, and it doesn't have a result, right? It doesn't have an end in mind. You're doing it just because it's what makes you happy, and what, you know, is going to lead you in the direction of discovering more about your soul's truth, about why you came here. And you're living with serendipity and trust in the unknown. This is very much so going with the flow of things, right? Flowing with where life is taking you. And so I feel like maybe this was like one of your first catalysts, or this was a big catalyst of like such deep and profound and beautiful love. And also like sobering you up to the understanding of the nature of reality, and that's that things are always changing, and it's never going to be what it once was, right? But regardless, as long as I'm tuning into my heart center and flowing in the direction of happiness, what makes me happy, and connecting with my emotions, not like pushing them away or concealing them, right? Because I feel like that's what leaves us feeling in a state of confusion, and confusion is what leads to suffering for ourselves and other people. And so this is so exciting, but I also feel like, again, it's one of those things where, yeah, I'm just getting this sense of someone that, can flow very freely in between or throughout all types of dynamics, whether you've been lovers before or friends before, or friends become lovers or lovers become friends. I'm getting the sense of you guys really upgrading your understanding and experience of what true union and true spiritual relationships are about, and what soul contracts are all about. And it's like not getting so obsessed with the role that we play for other people that we forget what the true purpose of these spiritual unions are. And it's for growth and expansion and for freedom. And if at some point that freedom means that you're being pointed in a different direction from me, then I, honor that. Right? And vice versa. Like, I need to go somewhere else, and like, I'm going to honor that. It doesn't mean that we don't grieve and that we don't miss things as they once were, or like have a nostalgia. But that's where the poet and this gnosis energy lies. It's like that in between, somewhere in between. It's not black or white. It's like an infinite shade of gray. And it's like, I miss this. It was so beautiful. It was so profound while it lasted. And also I'm carrying that with me as I enter these other dynamics. And yeah, I'm getting this sense of like such flow and such freedom from this group. And just like, I'm getting that judgment kind of energy where it's like you're reclaiming yourself, and maybe even not even reclaiming, like maybe this is like a discovering, like you didn't even know this was really part of your soul's blueprint. And so it feels good because it doesn't feel like you're concealing, and you're going to be more straight up with people from here on out of like, all right, this is who I am, and I have, how I make decisions is not with my head, right? Not with what the eyes can see, but with my heart. And sometimes it's going to lead me in this direction, and sometimes it's going to lead me in this direction, and it's not because I'm a selfish person. And so I feel like that's what you guys are beginning to understand. It's not because you're selfish, it's just because you have a different idea and a different understanding of what these soul contracts are here for. Right? I almost see this as like someone overseeing, like a spirit guide overseeing like these two beings that could potentially be lovers, and knowing that, okay, like here it is. This is, with this book energy that continues to come through of like, all right, this is the next chapter of our curriculum, because we are moving into an age where things are much more fluid. You don't notice all the cups energy, all the water energy, things are much more fluid. Okay, and especially if you guys are drawn to my channel, I mean, I just have beings that are pretty tuned in to some, pretty expanded paradigms, and this just seems to be where the planet is headed. And just like modern families are so all over the place, not in a negative way, but just like, I'm 29 and I'm dating and I have a family, and I don't go looking for dates. They literally, I've been dry, I'm so sorry. I've been having a dry season for like a year, and then all of a sudden last month, I guess my guides were like, all right, now we're going to put you through the process. You're about to go through a huge process of like understanding yourself in union and understanding just yourself in general. And so there's been like, at one point I was like, I think I have like 6 people actively pursuing me right now after like not having anyone interested in me for like a year or like talking to me or anything, right? So there's a lot of fluidity is what I'm getting overall. And I feel like this might not just have to do with your relationships. I feel like just in general, this is a heart awakening that you guys are having. And like, life is meant to have fun. You guys are like sobering up. This rebirth is like, I am meant to have fun. Like, I'm not going to trade my life for things that make sense anymore. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my truth anymore. I'm not going to conceal parts of myself anymore, because you know what? It always leads to this. Eventually higher self wants us to be free, right? So eventually those things that were built upon a false foundation are going to come crumbling down. So it's like, I'm not going to take any more detours, right? And it's like, whichever cup, the cup that I choose today is going to be, might be different from the cup that I choose next week, but I'm not going to make it mean anything about myself, right? There's that battle between head and heart, things that like make the most sense, but then what actually brings us the most amount of joy, the most amount of happiness. So this transition is like freedom and love, fearless freedom and love is like, you're taking that up a notch and you're giving yourself permission to be that poet, which learns from everything in life. Gnosis, it's like, in order to really be a teacher of life, you always have to be a student of life. So you're always learning, right? But I feel like maybe recently you had a container that, like, a very beautiful container of like love or true love, no matter how long it lasted for. Like, I had a reflection of this similar kind of energy that, you know, a past lover came into town and he was in town for a week. And it was like cloud 9, the most beautiful fairy tale kind of thing. And then back to Florida, and now, whoop, pop out of reality. I guess you could say back down to reality. And there was a grieving, but there's also like an appreciation for the nature of reality and the fact that that's how, I don't know, I feel like that's just how dynamics are going to start to be more and more. We're coming together. We have work to do. We have karma to clear. We have reflections, and we're not taking it personally. We're not creating more karma for ourselves by taking it personally, right? We're honoring the lesson. And, you know, I feel like when we come out of these dynamics, and when you come out of this dynamic, or like when you have space away, just notice when you have space away from this person or your person, whenever you're in a relationship, when you take time by yourself, like, you see certain patterns about yourself and the other person that maybe you don't always when you're like in each other's grills, you know what I mean? And so I feel like there's that is just a beautiful symbol for how beautiful these can be in the moment. And so much happens so quickly in romantic dynamics that we can miss when we're overlooking things, or like, it just happens so quickly that it's not until we get by ourselves that we're like, oh my gosh, like, we have an epiphany and we realize certain things about how we make decisions, and where we're still concealing our highest versions of ourselves, and we get to understand why we might be doing that more, right? So there's a lot of growth that I feel like is happening for you, not just within this container, but across the board. That is going to be catalyzed by maybe lovers, or maybe like dating in general. And I feel like, if anything, the place that you're sitting in when you're engaging in these romantic dynamics is much different than other people. I feel like you're much more carefree, not carefree towards people's feelings, but there's a much more about that poetic sense about you of like, okay, I'm not going to over romanticize this, but if I'm feeling romantic in this moment, I'm going to express it, but also understanding that we have no fucking idea where this is leading, right? And, you know, things just move so much more and more rapidly in this age of Aquarius. But I feel like wherever you're going and this new shift, your next rebirth, like, there's so much happiness, there's so much freedom, okay? And there's so much trust of like the divine timing of things, and you're not trying to like hold on to things that don't make sense anymore. And even if they could make sense, if it's not physically making sense, you're not going to try to force something, right? If it's not like, what do I mean by physically making sense? Like, it might be there for the heart, right? But if the environment, if it takes a lot of like work to try to make something work, then I feel like you're understanding that, okay, that's bringing me out of happiness. That's bringing me out of flow with the way things are. And so I just want to be in flow. Pile number 3 just wants to be in flow and trusting that to bring you exactly where it needs to be. And I see it bringing you to really great places and opportunities that I feel like you might not have even been aware of, right? That you like, it's just kind of having trust of, bring me what you know I need, higher self. Universe, bring me what you know I need. I'm, you know, taking my eyes off of this. I'm taking my limited self, my limited perception out of this, and I'm just going to keep tuning into love and knowing that it's going to support my dreams, and it's going to bring me what I need when I need it, who I need when I need it, right? It's going to bring lovers to and away from me as is needed. But at the end of the day, I feel like you're never going to be left with your cup feeling empty in this new level that you're rebirthing into, that you're birthing into, right? You're always going to have something that feels, you're always going to feel full, even when you're grieving. That's the beauty of the poet. It's like, it's self-sourced, but you're so deeply like able to be a student of life that there's such a peace and a contentment that you're not romanticizing life, right? You're not pretending. And it's in the not pretending that you experience such joy, even in the greatest heartbreaks and the greatest moments of disillusionment and disappointments. Right? Because that's the poet. It's like, this is life, this is the human experience, and poets echo, their words echo, for centuries. And, they still, there's poets from like 550 BC that I tune into, and their words are still very relevant to this day, right? Because it's speaking to the human experience, the heart of mankind. And so this is taking you deeper into your emotions, and in a really good way, not like you're becoming crazy, but you're just becoming more present, and much more present to the subtle nature of reality and to the flow of things. And because you're not trying to hold on, you're not trying to like push yourself upstream, you're so happy. And there's such a like serenity behind you, and just like doing things, like so much spontaneity as well, and being at the right place at the right time, and beginner's mind, right? Beginner's eyes, beginner's mind, and not getting in your own way, and honoring your full expression, honoring your freedom, and wanting that for other people. No matter how deeply you love someone, like this new phase you're going into, it's like, this is a profound level of maturity, you guys. A profound level of spiritual and emotional maturity, because you actually want the best for people, even if you have to grieve the loss of a lover, because and you can deeply feel, and you both see that your paths, in your heart of hearts, you know that your paths are not supposed to be as they are, or it's supposed to change somehow, right? And your heart of hearts tells you that, no matter how much you like your karma or your emotion, no matter how much your like neediness, or like that, kind of, gosh, I love this so much, that almost like obsessive energy, no matter how much that wants to milk it for as long as it can, might be there, you're moving into a space of great maturity, of like, you do what you got to do. And everyone is left so evolved. Like, I feel like the people that you're going to be mingling with, and on all the different levels, all the different degrees of like having relationships, you're a blessing when you enter people's lives. You are a blessing and a lesson, okay? And regardless of how things end, I feel like you'll always remain like a great blessing in people's lives. And this is beautiful energy, and it's just getting better, my friends. Like, this is going to be an insane glow up, an insane like rebirth experience. Because I feel like you're already kind of in that energy, but it's going to get even tenfold. And there's a lot of creativity that I see, and a lot of like just things flowing from you, your soul stream flowing from you. And everyone benefits from it. So I'm going to leave this reading here for now, all right? So please give this video a thumbs up if it resonated. If you want to leave any comments down below, please do. And I hope to see you again on my channel soon. Hey, group number 4, welcome to your reading for your next rebirth. You better believe I had to look at my notepad every time. I've forgotten every time. These interviews have been intense, all right? But we're here for the journey, aren't we, pile number 4? Yes, we are. Okay, so pile 4, you guys have been laying a foundation for yourself. All right, these are two, like, I love these cards individually, but seeing this archetype blend together is so beautiful, okay? Because I'm seeing that you guys have done a hell of a lot of work on yourself, to say the least. All right, you guys don't give up easily. You guys are like, when I saw this, so I kind of saw this flipped over yesterday when I was like shuffling for the piles, and immediately I heard stubborn. I heard stubborn energy, but not in a negative way. I feel like, we have stand your ground here. We also have, what else do we have? Yeah, withhold the space and grow within your current situation over here too. Like, across the board, this reading is very, it is very coherent. All right, what's interesting is on this side, we have what you're getting ready to embody more of, and on this side is what you are shedding. And this happened for 3 out of 4 of these piles, where what we're shedding, we have a card, the same tarot card coming up, and what's shedding as what we're stepping into. Okay, so everything that you're currently working on, everything that you're currently experiencing and building in your life is going to be increased. All right, I feel like you guys have been focusing on building something of substance. All right, you've been laying a foundation, right? And I feel like it's to the point to where you're like, when is this gonna fucking pick up? Like, when am I gonna see this get bigger? Or like, I'm meeting all of these challenges, and for what? Maybe even questioning, right? Maybe even questioning, like, is this something that I even deserve? And is this something that I can actually achieve? Right? Because maybe we're watching other people do it, and maybe to some degree you haven't seen the same amount of success, but, you know, there's a strong message coming here that where you are putting your sense of success in. Because I'm seeing you guys have come so far in terms of your confidence, in terms of like the amount of shadows that you've met within yourself. Like, the mystic is all about sitting in the darkness, man. Like, that's what makes the mystic who they are. Like, the mystic is a being that is in tune with those subtle forces of nature, and in tune with what the spiritual journey really is about, right? It's about taking the shadow and bringing it to the light, taking the shadow, bringing it to the light, within and without, over and over again. And so you guys have been relentless in this journey, right? But I feel like you're like, when is it going to give? Because in your heart, you know, you're connected to this vision that seems so much bigger than you. This community, these people coming together, celebrating, like living a good life together. And I feel like to an extent, to a degree, you are already feeling so empowered in yourself, very magnetic to opportunities and people just coming to you, wanting to work with you in some way, wanting to see what you have to offer, assuming you have something to offer, you know, but just people just being in your field assume you have something very powerful to offer, and that you're doing something big in this world. And whether or not you would say you're doing something big, like externally speaking, you are. Internally speaking, you're definitely actualizing on the intention for your soul coming into this incarnation. And so I feel like, you know, you guys are, it's interesting because this rebirth, it's like, it's interesting because I feel like the energy that you're in is like the energy that you're amplifying. And it's so weird that this has kind of been a common theme. I was not expecting this at all. But, you know, it's been a common theme in most of these readings that it's like you're on the path and you're about to experience similar energies, but they're going to be much brighter, much freer, doing maybe the same things or you know, being around the same people almost, but the place you're sitting in just like feels so different. It feels so brand new that your environment doesn't necessarily have to change. It's because the place you're sitting in, all the shadow work you've done, all the unearthing, all the inner standing you've done is bringing out a different potentiality from these people that you're already engaging with, from this seeming solid reality, right? It's bringing out different potentials. You could be living in the same place, the same town, but just to have new experiences, new feelings, new sensations, a new version of yourself is what is being rebirthed. Right? When I accept the love of the universe as my primary teacher, I will always be guided back to the light. So I feel like this is about like not getting lost in the idea that just because something seems like it would be more appealing doesn't mean that it actually would. Because pile 4, you're on a journey of unearthing that happiness internally and then seeing what is born of that, versus feeling like you need to change a bunch of things in your external reality. You know, we don't have the emperor energy coming through. We have the empress, which is things come to me. Like I just radiate and things come to me. Right? And so I feel like it's exactly what it is. The love of the universe is your primary teacher right now, and finding contentment and happiness exactly where you're at, and not giving up on whatever vision you've been receiving. Because maybe it's been a slow and steady build for you over time. And maybe it hasn't even made sense all the time and you're like asking, why am I even doing this? Like, is the payoff really worth it? And, you know, I think that's an easy answer. Of course it is. Anytime you're doing something that feels like it's an extension of why you came here, it's your purpose, you know, that's never going to steer you wrong. Right? Now it's beautiful that there's so many rainbows, like, and like sunshiny energy coming through. So, you know, no rain, no rainbows kind of thing. We unearth the most, look at all this beautiful rainbow energy. I feel like you guys are really learning how to embrace the entirety of the experience, and you've already been really good at that, which is interesting. Internally, you're really good at it, but I feel like maybe externally, you're not maybe seeing as much. Like, you're seeing glimpses of things, but maybe you're not seeing things as much as you would like to. And I feel like it's just because you're on a different kind of journey. You know, you will eventually. I'm saying you will eventually. But it's like, grow within your current situation, hold the space in terms of like what you're rebirthing into. It's like, notice that both of these beings are kind of aged, right? There's like a maturity about them. And so you've been maturing for a certain degree of responsibility, because I feel like what it is you actually think that it's going to be and what is actually in store in regards to like what your higher self has in store is maybe drastically different. Just in terms of the impact, the amount of impact. I feel like you've probably already always known and always been in tune that you were here for something bigger and here to like make big change on the planet. And that's why you haven't given up. That's why there's so much of this fixed energy of like, I'm here, right? So what is that? Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus energy. So you might even have significant placements there. Did I say Aries? No, Aries is cardinal. Okay. So you could have significant placements, you know, in those things. If you're my age, some of you might even be going through your Saturn return in Aquarius, okay, which is all about like, it's like, when is the fun going to come? And it's really about learning how to have fun in the like, you know, in the getting serious about responsibilities. And like, you know, they say that the first Saturn return is kind of when you become an adult. That's your initiation into adulthood, not when you're 18, but like just the process of Saturn either leaving us very bitter or very better. And so even if you're not going through your Saturn's return, again, there's something here about, you could even just have a lot of like Saturn type of energy, Saturn placements. Like Capricorn could be strong in your chart, or Aquarius could be strong in your chart, you know. But there's a lot of that, like having, like working your ass off, working really hard. And I feel like you guys haven't lost your joy along the way. However, if there's, you know, Spirit is really coming through and saying that just because things could be different doesn't mean that they would be better. Just because you could have, you know, your following of however many people you think you need to prove to you that you're successful or you've made it or whatever, doesn't mean that you would feel any better, and doesn't mean that any of your problems would go away. And again, there's a sense of Spirit really re-emphasizing the sense of maturity. Not saying you're immature, but you're just being prepared for something that needs you to be really solid within yourself. So you're unshaking, okay? So you don't give up, right? Maybe some of the challenges you've met have been not as... I believe you've met some pretty great challenges, but this is just so like, you know, it's that flame that can't be burnt out, that can't be blown out just because there's a big gust of wind coming, or, you know, shit hits the fan or something unexpected happens. You know, me speaking, like going through this bullshit right now where someone made a fake account on Instagram and has more followers than I do now, which wasn't very hard because I didn't have a big following, and is now reaching out to all my friends and family and people that I've grown rapport with over the years, and honestly could do a really good job at tarnishing my entire image, because, you know, they've done a really good job at almost making an identical Instagram, and a lot of people think it is me. You know, that kind of thing of like, oh my God, like when you do start to get noticed or get good and kind of lock into your thing, there's going to be its own challenges, right? And with that has become its own process of just like getting ungrounded and like, you know, needing to center. And with Mars or Jupiter in Aries right now, there's a lot of fiery energy I'm experiencing, and I'm already a very fiery person. So, you know, like there's a lot of weathering that is happening right now that Spirit is preparing you for. That's just an example, but I feel like what you want is what you're going to get, and it's going to be better than you think. And there is a lot here too about like, you're just getting better at not concealing parts of yourself that you think you need to, and really you're really being primed to be a reflection for other people. All right, like a true teacher, a true reflector of other people and their states of consciousness, right? Because all that glitter really does talk about not hiding our real self behind sparkles and glam and stuff, right? Behind the mask, so to speak. You know, because when you do that, you just dilute your real self, which is what people actually like anyways. And so, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of wisdom that the wise one and the druid hold, right? It's all about sticking it out for the long run and understanding that while things might not be going on your time frame, I feel like by the time you start to achieve the type of success that you feel in your heart that you're meant to, you're going to be so wise and responsible to be able to handle that. All right. And so there's not a punishment. You guys aren't doing anything wrong. You're literally like, you've been following your intuition. You've been following your higher guidance. Okay. And I'm seeing you're already on your right path for this energy to exist in what you're shedding, of like also exists into what you're stepping into. This tells me you guys are locked into your soul stream. You're locked into your timeline, your highest timeline. All right. But I feel like there's maybe an antsiness to get the move on with things, but there's a lot that you're learning throughout all of this time, okay? You know, and it probably feels really long. Like maybe for some of you, 4 years. 4 is a significant number that is continuing to come up. 3 to 4 years. It might have felt like you've been working really hard at something with little to no avail. And it's coming. It's coming sooner than you expect. What's interesting with the 5 of Swords, so the 5 cards, the 5 energy is all about being real with what's now, right? And it's like paired with the Empress energy and the 3 of Wands, it almost communicates this type of serenity that I'm getting from these images as well, of not being carried away by like the emotional highs and not being swept away by the emotional lows either, but just being present to what it has to show you. Yeah, I feel like you guys are learning what it means to be in like karma yoga, is what like the Bhagavad Gita would call it as, where you're learning how to just like be in life without being so attached to results, knowing like when to draw your sword and why you draw your sword, right? It's the warrior archetype is the being that is content with death, and their entire expression is balancing between worlds of life and death. And so there's a very sobering quality to this pile, to this energy that I'm getting from you guys of, you know, and this is not to be morbid or anything, but I feel like sometimes we can forget that we're not guaranteed a tomorrow. And if we're so consumed in getting to a tomorrow that might not even come, then what happened to the now? What happened to the today? Right? And so this is about trusting your magnetism and trusting, you know, what spirit is currently showing you right now, and trusting that you're building exactly what you're meant to be building. And it might be a little boring. It might feel a little boring, you know, but it might just be the same. But I don't think it's ever boring for you guys, if I'm being completely honest, because you guys are always learning, you know, you're always learning. Love of the universe is your primary teacher, and that's all there is. So you're always learning. The mystic is always learning, expanding. And so I feel like this time period that you're in, it's really shown you that no matter how hard you've tried, you guys might have really tried to change your like external reality, but then unbeknownst to you ended up like staying there, having to stay there, and then you ended up being happy regardless. And so that's one of the greatest teachers I think we can have, is like, you know, no rain, no rainbows, and like, don't wait for the storm is over, like dance in the rain kind of thing, you know, and learning how to fill your own cup. And so there's this energy of self-sustainment that you have, I feel like, already mastered. And so now you're wanting to share that with other people. And that's where the antsiness is coming, of like, all right, I feel like I'm ready for the next level. You know, this 5 of Swords energy is about winning against all odds. Right, and I believe 14, that's like temperance, right? We have the number 14 on here, 14 and 5. They have a deep correlation. This is like, Greg got this for me. Maya's dad got this for me for Mother's Day, and it's my new favorite deck. I love it. I know I say that every time I get a new deck, but it's so cool because, you know, like, it shows the relationship between the numbers in tarot and how they're all very interrelated, despite just like the obvious of like fives being related or whatever, you know. And so there is a correlation between, you know, winning against all odds and temperance, like, you know, taking your time to get there and not rushing to the end and understanding that good things take time, right? And when it's time to adventure, you'll know when it is. And I just feel like, again, there's like this antsiness that I'm getting, but, you know, don't be fooled, because to think that you won't look back at this time when things are a little bit, you know, kind of the same. I feel like shit's about to pop off at some point is what I'm trying to say. You know, when you're just like building up the emotional wherewithal, the financial wherewithal, just like the maturity levels are being built up at this point. It's interesting too that we have the same numbers coming up here, right? So we have the threes, right? And we have the world energy coming through. So once a cycle is complete, like, we kind of suspend ourselves with the hanged man energy. We suspend ourselves and we wait to see what the next step is. And we wait for that to be revealed to us, right? And we're not like trying to figure it out, because we feel like, you know, we've been so conditioned to think that if we're always moving and always doing something, always releasing, then that means that we are successful or that we're making progress. I do deeply feel that you guys are being prepared for something, and your tenacity and your endurance is like one of your greatest gifts. And I know it might feel a little bit like, okay, when is this show going to get on the road? But, you know, the biggest lesson that you were to learn during this time was self-sourcing your happiness. All right. And then, because in some way you're probably going to end up teaching other people that, because I am getting a hermity kind of energy with this, right? Teaching other people, like, you know, when you're really aligned to something that your heart and soul love, and that is a natural expression and extension of your soul's blueprint, you don't have to convince yourself to stand your ground. It's just like, this is what I stand for. And I'm not going to let any, like, you know, fake-o account, scam account, like, you know, scare me off. Or, you know, I'm not going to let any person that doesn't want me to step in my power, I'm not going to give them that satisfaction. You know, I couldn't, even if I wanted to, because, you know, you guys are so locked into something greater than yourself that I feel like it would take literally you passing on to the next life for you to give up on it in this life, right? But it's going to come, okay? And I feel like it's going to come, and you're going to be so grateful that it took the time that it did. You're going to be so grateful that, because there's so much more that's revealed about our character when things don't happen very quickly. There's so much more revealed, I feel. And when things are slow and steady, because it really shows you where your heart is at. You know, and your guys' heart is in a beautiful place, and you're already locked into your timeline, and it's only a matter of time. And your greatest lesson is creating the happiness, shining light, bringing shadows to the light, all right? And yeah, learning that what a backbone you actually do have. Like, you guys are ballsy. Like, there's a lot of powerful energy in this archetype, and so by the time this happens, like, you're going to be ready for it, because I feel like it's going to come in hot, and I feel like it's going to be a lot. All right, I'm a poet at heart, so what can I say? So I'm going to leave this reading here for now, pal number 4. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, let us know how this resonated, if that resonates for you. But at the very least, I hope to see you again on my channel soon.